Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigerian today. This morning, I will be congratulating you for Happy Democracy Day, first of all. Before we go into looking into the blueprint and the achievement, economic achievement of Mr. President within the first 3 years, talking about 2015 to 2018, and subsequently we shall be delving into 2019 and the prospect of the next 4 years. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Don't forget, Spectacle program is your socio-political and economic program on TVN. You can follow us on our live stream at tvn.news and our social media platforms like the Twitter, the Facebook, Instagram, and so on. What you just need to do is to Google Television Nigerian. Now, we want to beam our periscope to the economic achievement of Mr. President thus far. According to the fact sheet released in 2018, that Mr. President has achieved so much economic blueprint before 2018. Now we are in 2019. Now, the administration's priority in the sectors like agriculture and solid minerals maintained consistent growth throughout the recession. You know, we had recession and inflation before 2015. And then inflation has fallen for the 15th time, 15th consecutive month, from 18.7% in January 2017 to 12.5% as of April 2018. External reserves of $47.5 in billion are the highest in 5 years and double the size of October 2016. Of course, we had total exports in the year 2017, which was tagged at 59.47, higher than for the year 2016. In 2017, agricultural exports grew by 180.7, that is in trillion, above the normal what we achieved in 2016. And in 2017, raw material exports grew from 154.2 to 122 and above, which was also above the 2016 fiscal year. In 2017, solid mineral exports, talking about the solid mineral aspect, solid mineral export grew from 565 to 1,022, which is above what we achieved in 2016. And in 2017, exports of manufactured goods grew 26.8% to 1,022 again, which is the value we had in 2016. The first quarter of 2018 saw the fourth consecutive quarterly increase in capital importation since the second quarter of 2017. The total value of capital imported in the quarter stood at $6.3 billion, which is a year-on-year increase of about 594.03 and above 17.11 growth over the figure reported in the previous quarter. The new forex window introduced by the CBN in April 2019 now sees an average of $1 billion in weekly turnover and has attracted about $25 billion as inflows in each first year and a total turnover of about 47.14 billion US dollars. That is signaling rising investors' confidence in Nigeria. Let's pause a minute. Now, the economic analysis in terms of figures we just explained were the achievement of Mr. President and more that will still be explaining to us in this program. Now, the Nigerian stock market ended in 2019 as one of the best performing in the world. Yet, some analysts are of the opinion that our economy has not grown. If we actually sit down, apart from security achievement of Mr. President in the past 3 years, let me say in the past 4 years, we will come to understand that before this administration came to be, we had what we call economic recession. We were in default. Before Jonathan handed over the government to President Buhari, Okonjo-Iweala was cited on television to have said that we had no savings in this country. Only God knows how Mr. President turned things over and we have what we call economic growth, probably from what we call economic growth, economic revamp and growth plans. So the indices that made this economic policies to be achievable are things we are still going to look into in our spectacle today. Remember, spectacle brings to you your foremost, striking performances of individuals, corporate bodies, governments, and so on. So we are looking at the striking performances in the economic policies of Mr. President, talking about President Buhari. Stay tuned. After this timeout, we will come and continue the analysis. Now, after the we are talking about investors' confidence in Nigeria, and the Nigerian stock exchange market ended in 2017 as one of the best performing in the world, with returns in excess of 40%. That is 5 million new taxpayers added to the tax base since 2016 as part of efforts to diversify government revenues. Tax revenue increased to 1.17 trillion naira in first quarter of 2018, a 51% increase on the first quarter from 2017 figure. Then 2.7 trillion naira spent on infrastructure in 2016 and 2017 fiscal years, an unprecedented allocation in Nigeria's recent history. 14 moribund blending plants revitalized so far under Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, PFI, with a total capacity of 2.3 million metric ton of NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer. The contribution of solid minerals to the Federation account rose fivefold from 700 million naira in 2015 to 3.5 billion in 2017. Resetting the economy, restoring growth, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP. The federal government's medium-term economic plan was launched by President Buhari in April 2017. It charts a course for the Nigerian economy over the next 4 years talking about 2017 to 2020. The vision of the RGP is to restore economic growth, invest in Nigerians, and to build a globally competitive economy. And the plan aims to achieve this by focusing on 5 execution priorities, which is 1, stabilizing the macroeconomic, the environment, achieving agriculture and food security, ensuring energy efficiency, especially in power and petroleum products, improving transportation, infrastructure, and driving industrialization, primarily through SMEs, to fast-track the implementation of the ERGP, that is the Economic Revamp and Growth Plan. The federal government launched the ERGP Focus Lab as a targeted 6-week intervention, March to April 2018, bringing together all stakeholders to identify bureaucratic bottlenecks impacting medium-scale and large-scale investment projects in Nigeria, and then generate ideas and resources to resolve them. The just concluded phase 1 of the RGP Focus Labs identified private sector projects worth about $22.5 billion, and with a potential for 500,000 jobs in agriculture, transportation, manufacturing and processing, power and gas for unlocking by 2020. Aligning of monetary and fiscal and trade policies, landmark initiatives here include 1, the creation in April 2017 of a new forex window for investors and exporters has helped stabilize the market. The new window has attracted inflows of more than $45 billion in its first year of operation. The Buhari administration has implemented a new debt management strategy which targets a ratio of about 60 to 40 between domestic and external debt. The other objectives of the strategy are to moderate growth in debt service costs, free up space in the domestic market so that the private sector can have increased access to loans and to shore up external reserves. The strategy has been implemented through increased external capital, rising to part finance the deficit in the 2017 and 2018 budget, and the refinancing of short-term, high-cost Nigerian treasury bills, talking about the interest rate of 16 to 18, with lower cost external debt of about 6.5 to 7.875 through the implementation of the strategy. The domestic to external debt ratio, which stood at 84 to 16.7 at June 30, 2015. Let's pause a little. The economic policies, especially talking about granting loans to state governments, giving some financial assistance to state governments, like the SIP loans, the money recovered from the Abacha looted funds in 2015, 2016, and we learned that some of these funds were invested into the social investment program of Mr. President, and where school feedings program and the Empower were carved out. And today we have millions of Nigerian graduates, artisans, and undergraduates benefiting from this very scheme. The Empower scheme, some people were saying, how did this come about and where did they get the money, especially looted funds? Where has the looted fund of Nigerian been recovered, has gone to? And they want to know. So I'm telling us this morning that part of the looted fund were invested into what we call the SIP, a social investment program of Mr. President, where thousands of primary school students, public school students, were kind of being fed daily from Monday to Friday in all public schools, and very soon it will engulf private schools too. And we know that the Empower, that is the Empower program that has employed from about 24 states right now in the country, talking about graduates who have no job and undergraduates, and even artisans, people who are skilled in the act of technicalities, technical works, street cobblers, shoemakers, petty traders. Some of these funds were allocated and disbursed to them, not as loan, but as grant. Not even as grant, but as monthly stipends. While the social investment program for the school homegrown feeding were being taken, daily by the public schools. It's talking about students from public primary schools in the country. I think in about 24 states right now. The Empower also engulfed like 18 states, benefiting where students, graduates are benefiting a stipend, a monthly stipend of about 30,000 naira, which a review has been made by the president that it will be increased to 50,000, so that graduates will not loom the street, joblessness will not affect them, suicide will become minimal, and what we call street hawkings and social vices in the street will be curbed to some extent in this state. And very soon, Mr. President has promised that this particular Empower will go across the 36 states of the country, where you can be gainfully employed. And I think the first and second batch were also, absorbed into the federal parastatals, the ministries, departments, and agencies, and they are gainfully employed today. So we are taking our periscope to look into these areas, policies that are already working from the looted funds, and a looted fund, recovered a looted fund of this administration. You bear with me that it is one great policies that made the Nigerian masses to support the administration of President Buhari, especially the fight against both financial and institutional corruption, because the financial corruption has led to what we call some fascism, capitalism, abject poverty on the street. Nigerians are moving, headlong without hope, while some few are benefiting from, the treasury. So Mr. President came and introduced what we call though he wasn't the one that introduced it, but he implemented it with stand monitoring and implementation. And talking about the TSA, that is Treasury Single Account, a Treasury Single Account where it monitors all transactions, bank transactions, and banks transfers, from the naira to the dollars to the pounds, how some of these governmental officials have been looting the economy dry, talking about financial economy this time, sending money, transferring money to their foreign account, their domiciliary account. So this was stopped immediately. The president, assumed office in 2015, and then all government transactions were being paid through the what we call the Treasury Single Account, helping making it easier for monitoring and then the destination of finances. So a lot of people find it very difficult, and they criticize the government for being very stringent, and especially that money has not been in circulation. And money cannot be in circulation when it is corrupt. It devalues the naira. If excess money is in circulation, of course, you know that the power of your currency will be devalued, and if the power of the currency is devalued, it gives a kind of a percentage rate for exchange, and then the dollar becomes so high for you. Even if the dollar is not obtainable as of then, because everything that we do in the country, because we're like depending capitally on oil, and everything we exchange has to be from dollars to pounds and so on. Another policy that Mr. President, introduced after the TSA was that he quickly made a bilateral tie with China, where we know that most of our goods, foreign goods, came from. And then we kind of import most of the foreign goods. We do not import from US. We do not import from Europe, any of the Europe countries. We import largely from China. And then we had a bilateral tie with the Chinese government. And the exchange rate between the Chinese yen and the US dollars, of course, is minimal when it comes to, the naira. While the dollar is high, the yuan is a little bit affordable. So trade were kind of flowing, and then our agricultural produces were having a kind of a domestic potentiality and increase, such that we can call ourselves a productive nation again. No, we know that our GDP has been oil, but we have diversified and added another one, which is our fundamental productive GDP, which is the agricultural produces. Today, you can see what we have achieved from the agricultural economy, and the turnaround the agri sector have given to the Nigerian economy, and we can boast of a lot of things. Apart from the looted fund recovered, we could boast, of course, that we have food security today in Nigeria. We are producing rice, homegrown rice. I'm not talking about foreign rice, where sometimes they even use plastic to manufacture foreign rice to you, and also give you, polythene to eat as rice. But people sometimes have obesity from these things, and they don't know what they're eating. Mr. President have encouraged us to patronize what we call homegrown food, homegrown agricultural produces. We have them in this from 2015 to 2019. Largely, we depend on those things, even though we know that we are heading towards technological economy very soon. And I think it is one of the blueprints of Mr. President in the next 4 years that we are going to see. So the technological aspect of our country, the IT students, the information technology, computer, and so on and so forth will have a bone. Remember, Nigeria have Sat-1 in the orbit, and we know that with this tool we can implement trade and do a lot of things, aligning with the international first world countries. Stay with me. The analysis will still continue shortly. This is Spectacle. Now, you have started there. All right, welcome back to Spectacle, and I will be looking at the three new stuff inside the domestic market that Mr. President has introduced. The domestic market under Mr. President Buhari administration introduced two new products in the domestic market to promote financial inclusion, financial specific capital projects, and offer local investors more products to enable them diversify their investment portfolio. These were 100 billion sukuk to finance 25 road projects across the country. Of course, you saw that Mr. President was keen about road infrastructure. Now, across the country, then another 10.69 billion debt green bond to fund infrastructure projects that tackle climate change, and the FGN savings bond, a total of about 8.126 billion naira from 11.366 retail investors has been raised through the savings bond since it was launched in March 2017. Of course, by this achievement, Mr. President, of course, got an external institution and governmental awards. He received multiple awards from reputable international organizations and bodies from its capital-raising activities. Nigeria won 3 awards from the EMEA Finance and 1 award from Global Capital. And these are Best Sovereign Bond in Africa. Nigerians, $3 billion dual tranche, and then the 10 and 30-year Euro bonds issued in November 2017. Most innovative bonds, Nigerians, which is the most innovative bond, I mean to say, Nigerians $300 million diaspora's bond issued in June 2017, which was tagged as best Naira bond ever in the history of the country. Then Nigeria's 100 billion Naira bond, which is the 7 years inaugural sukuk issued in the September 2017, and Global Capital Award, which was the best in African borrowers' financial economy. Of course, payment of outstanding pension arrears were part of the achievement and claims that the Buhari administration has released. Of course, they released the sum of 54 billion to settle outstanding pension arrears from 2014 to 2015 and 2016, as well as clear pensions claim up to March 2017. Now, let's pause a little here. Now, the money released for pension, of course, arrears for pension arrears to be cleared, and then pension debt. This money were, released and given to state coffers, and we have some state governors who actually could not, pay these pensioners. Well, the economic policy of Mr. President is clear for the people, the abject people living in abject poverty and penury should get out of the poverty. But the onus became that of the state governors again. Not even the pension board, because we don't know how this money will come from the pension board, the federal pension board, to the state pension board. Yet we see pensioners queuing for the arrears from one examination of papers to the other. Sometimes they ask them to come and cross-check their papers, whether they are actually the ones to benefit day in, day out. Some of them die on the queue. I think there should be a computer scheme, a computer database where you just punch and you see somebody's name, not wasting the person's time on the queue, as old as they are. Some of them could not stand, even for 1 hour, but you see the condition then, they were standing even for 10 to 15 hours, collapsing from the, falling down from the queue. And some of them at the end of the day could not even get, their arrears and their pension. Some have been swallowed. Some states, snakes swallowed some of those things in some of the pension arrears in some states. while in other states it is elephant. And you will see these governors going to court challenging EFCC when they are indicted of crimes, of financial crimes and economic crimes. How would one be so heartless that our patriotic Nigerians, patriotic fathers, especially from the angle of the air service military men who fought for the unity of this country, who also fought gallantly to ensure the stability and peace, the tranquility of this country, will come and be on the queue to get their arrears just because of one democratic governor. It is uncalled for. It is high time we follow the ideologies and the objectives of Mr. President and do the needful. You are not, as a governor, allowed to even owe pension. Pension is not your money. The money comes directly from the FG, just like the federal allocation coming to your account, to the state account. The onus is on you to just pay. The database are there. So why keep it? Why hoarding the fund? Why transferring them from one bank to the other or to personal account? So it is wrong. It is wrong. It is a kind of irresponsibility in governance. So if you are elected to lead, if you are elected to actually govern, it is important you don't owe debt. Of course, we have learned our lessons that any governor that is indebted, not because he ought to be indebted, because the federal government and the state IGR is enough to implement projects, pay salaries, arrears, especially that of pensions. The pensioners, they must have to get their gratuities both in the public and in the private sectors. You understand? It is proper for them to get what is duly theirs. They have suffered for it. Even the scripture said it, that a laborer is worthy of his wages. We will stop there today on Spectacle. Tomorrow we'll continue in the economic policies and the blueprint achieved so far under President Muhammad Buhari, and subsequently we'll be looking into the prospect, the economic prospect in the next 4 years. We'll be dealing gradually, and then we'll be giving them, dishing them to you live on the Spectacle. Just stay glued to your television. The television is your TVN, Television Nigeria. Thank you once again for listening and for watching. I am still your Spectacle uncle, Daniel Atai.